Let's start with the NFC East. The reigning Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles reside there. And why don't we just start by talking about the Philadelphia Eagles? Their Vegas win total, they're sitting there at their over under is 11.5 there for the Philadelphia Eagles. And I don't see how any other team can really win this division against the Eagles. I think, I don't even think, let me not say I don't think Jalen Hurts is that good. I think Jalen Hurts has some holes in his game, but I think the Philadelphia Eagles offense, their coaching staff, they do probably a better job than anyone at hiding some of his weaknesses. And, his weakness is that he's not going to be able to throw for 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, and win a game that way. I just don't think Jalen Hurts has that in him. But because of how good the Eagles are and how great their defense is and how they have the most dominant rushing attack in all of football, he doesn't have to do that. So it's really just it's a moot point. But Saquon Barkley, he's back after the crazy, insane year that he had this year. I know in fantasy football talks, people are saying kind of fade him because how can he repeat that and stay healthy all that time? I don't know. We'll see. But my prediction is just based off, if the Philadelphia Eagles have, for the most part, a clean bill of health going into the playoffs. I'm sure some players will miss a week or a few weeks here and there, but I'm very high on the Eagles. That'll be revealed when we get to our playoff predictions, but I just think the Eagles are great. They didn't lose anyone, it feels like, anyone really of note. Their offensive line is the best in football, and it feels like it always will be, no matter who they're putting there on that offensive line, as long as they're in Philadelphia, in that organization, with that coaching staff. And look, I've been kind of not a Sirianni hater, but I've been critical of him. And last year, what can I say? He's won me over. Jalen Hurts has won me over. Devontae Smith, everybody. They've proven that they can do it, and they're all just so young, and I just don't see them missing a step. Maybe they even get a little bit better this year.
That will be hard to do. The way it clicked last year, I do believe in Sirianni and the discourse around Jalen Hurts. I think that's a popular thing people want to talk about. How much does he and his skills, how much do they elevate this team? I think he is perfect for the system. I'm not going to buy into him being a top 5, maybe a top 10 quarterback in this league. I think he's very good. He's on the perfect team. You put him on a bad team, I don't think he elevates them to a good team. I'm one of those. That's okay. But with the talent around them, this team is here to stay. I mean, they've invested a lot into a lot of guys, but the way they draft, Howie Roseman, they're incredibly well ran. They draft incredibly well. Half of their team is Georgia players right now, but taking Jihad Campbell out of Alabama, they always find a way to steal guys that are somehow still available to them. I'm not gonna fade Saquon, but just a guy you have to monitor the health when he's on the field. I do not think that there's anybody better than him. Maybe as a football player in general, but at the running back spot, when he is on the field, when he's healthy, it's unmatched. So that's what you got to look for. I think that offensive line is always key for a team like this with the running, with the run game. That I'm buying that they're going to be right where they were. I think they will maybe have a little competition for this division with Washington. I'm a absolute Washington believer, but Washington's still very young, still some things to figure out. That I think it's right in the lap of Philadelphia to be right where they were last year.
Yeah, I mean, the Eagles' defense last year was really young with Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell, and I was not, I was just worried about that a little bit, and then boom, look, they go win the Super Bowl. Cooper DeJean has the best play of the Super Bowl probably, and now they're all just 1 year older, more experienced, better. So I just feel like even though they got to the mountaintop last year and won the Super Bowl, for me it still feels like the arrow is pointing up. But we can't really talk about the Eagles too much. I feel like everything that's said has been said. They're great. They didn't lose anyone. They're young enough that they're just going to be better. I feel like with the Eagles, it's kind of all right there.
Yeah, I mean, kind of the same deal with how we spoke about the Bills. It's hard to give a huge breakdown of a team like the Bills, a team like the Eagles, when they are who they are. Not a lot of changes were made, but a few guys to look at: Lane Johnson, Dallas Goedert. These guys that might be getting a little older, huge pieces on this team, but they have to stay healthy. Obviously, the skill guys of AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. But I look at guys like Elaine Johnson that are so important to this team. They bring in an AJ Dillon. These are the kind of additions we're talking about. A backup running back who's been around for a long time. But Will Shipley is a young running back out of Clemson that is getting some people excited, maybe just for competent skill behind Barkley. That's all you're asking for at this point. Barkley's going to have to come off the field at some point. You have to have somebody. They do. But drafting guys like Andrew Makuba, starting safety from Texas. I mean, these are decent players they find at these value spots, whether it was Nakobe Dean and Jordan Davis. And Nakobe Dean's a big one. He's got to get healthy for that middle linebacker spot, undersized guy. But when he's on the field, he is a huge impact guy. You could say any team, it's all about the health. But I think that the Eagles showed last year that they just absolutely well-oiled machine, and they will continue to be that.
Yeah. Well, let's go to another team over there in the NFC East. Let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys. Jerry Jones, he did it. He traded Micah Parsons, surprisingly to most, I would say, for 2 first-round picks. And who was the defensive tackle that they got?
Kenny Clark, a 30-year-old. He will be 30 in a few days, in October, actually. 30-year-old, very good defensive tackle. But come on. I mean, go ahead.
I thought, I saw the rumors that the Green Bay Packers were maybe trying to make the trade for Micah Parsons. And when you see the contract that they got and you hear about the contract that Dallas was offering, you knew that it was never going to happen with Dallas. They were so far on the opposite ends of the spectrum there. But I did feel like it would have took at least more than 2 first-round picks and a solid player. I feel like if that would have been the asking price, maybe Jerry Jones should have had some foresight and tried to make a move around draft time, and he could have gotten 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and a player. I feel like the package could have and should have been a lot bigger, but Jerry Jones says, hey, they might all be Micah Parsons. He might be drafting 2 more Micah Parsons with those first-round picks, so who knows? But you got Dak Prescott. You bring in Pickens from Pittsburgh, and you got Javonte Williams from Denver. Now there's your running back. Miles Sanders and Jadon Blue, the rookie out of Texas. Whenever they traded Micah Parsons, that to me was the punt on the season. That to me was and we knew they weren't going to compete to win a Super Bowl, but I did think that, hey, they could be scrappy and maybe they go 10-7 and Dak Prescott looks great and this offense looks really good because I'm low on George Pickens. I've been low on George Pickens, but the receiving core for Dallas, this is one of the best that Dak Prescott has ever had the pleasure of playing with. Now, it's not like he's going to have a running game that's going to help that in any way at all. I don't think that, they haven't had a running game since Ezekiel Elliott was a good football player, and that was a while ago. But for Dallas, I think we're looking at 7-10 here. Maybe they, do the, hey, Dak, you're injured. Just sit out the rest of the year. Don't even worry about coming back. And they creep their way into like a top draft selection, but you can't get rid of maybe the best player on your team and expect to be fine after that. I really question Jerry Jones' move here. See, if you weren't going to pay Micah Parsons what he wanted, that's one thing. But how is this all you get for him? I know you've seen the memes where people went on Madden and tried to recreate that trade, and the video game is like, hey, this is the worst trade. This is not going to go through. There's no way this is going to go through. So I don't know. I'm low on the Cowboys.
As you should be. I mean, the Cowboy fans, you can't stand them, but I have some in my family. I love to rile them up, see how much I can affect their emotions, but it's easy to do. These are a emotional bunch and kind of have the right to be at this point. As long as you have Jerry Jones leading the charge, what can you have faith in at a management level at this point? I mean, you get 2 first-round picks. You get a 30-year-old defensive tackle who's very good, but you get 2 first-round picks from a team that's going to be good. I mean, a team that is probably ascending more than anything. So, more as a Riku's, I mean, what's it going to be? Another Micah Parsons? No. So, yeah, I think more of the story needs to be about how it got there. Jerry Jones trying to make handshake deals with players and not have agents involved. I think this is a big deal that going forward, if you're a free agent, who wants to be in that situation?
Right.
You want David Mulugeta to figure it out. Get me my money. You want your agent to be involved. And Jerry trying to bypass that on a good old boy handshake deal, ain't going to work, buddy. It's whatever time you think you're in, you're not. And now you're going to have one of the worst defenses in the league. When you look at their depth chart on defense, especially a defensive end, I mean, it's not pretty. You know, they're going to be a extremely shallow team as far as talent goes. I mean, even your corners. You run down this depth chart, but you're starting Malik Hooker, Deron Bland, Trevon Diggs. Okay, these are maybe the better names on this defense, but that's where it ends. I mean, the poor fans. You bring in a talent, which I'm high on George Pickens. I think offensively, I'm not totally out on this running game. I think Javonte Williams can be serviceable. But to have a talent on the outside like CeeDee Lamb and a 24-year-old ascending talent and Pickens, I'm all in on what this defense could be. As long as the offensive line is decent, you have what could be a top 10 tight end in Jake Ferguson that you don't have to ask. You can have a fully committee backfield of running backs, whether Jadon Blue steps up as a rookie, but Miles Sanders, I don't believe in that, man. But Javonte Williams, I kind of do. Can he be serviceable? Yes. It's a shame to me. I think they're going to be one of the worst defensive teams in the league. And then are we going to talk about Dak getting hurt midway through the season again? I mean, and then it's all gone to hell, everything. And then CeeDee Lamb, how long are you going to deal with it? I don't know. And Pickens, to me, seems like the world's kind of got to be perfect for George Pickens to hold it together. And you get to a team like Dallas with quite a bit of dysfunction. You wonder about how these 2 receivers are going to hold up, because at this point, those are your cornerstones, both on the outside. And Dak has to be healthy. I think Dak looks good. He's lost weight. You know, it's camp. But I don't know. Poor Cowboy fans, man. That is what it is. And as long as you've got Jerry, and without Jerry, you've got Steven. So good luck. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, I don't know. Sorry, Cowboys fans. It's really all we have to
hate
say.
Your luck.
But
boy, do I hate your luck.
Yeah. Well, look, there's another team in the NFC East that you're really high on, the Washington Commanders. Root, why don't you go ahead and give us a little preview into them?
Washington Commanders. I'm high on them because of my adoration, my love for Jaden Daniels. I think that they are set for 12 years with him at quarterback. But you gotta pump the brakes. I do. I love Jaden Daniels. I think he's going to lead this team to a lot of success over the next decade. But you've seen them make some moves. They get a deal done for Terry McLaurin. I think that had to happen, even at 29 years old. I don't care about that. Whether it's him, Cortland Sutton, those are 2 guys, same age. I love both their games a lot. They're perfect for their teams. Terry McLaurin, that deal had to get done. They do trade away Brian Robinson to the 49ers, and I think that's maybe just a show of how much maybe they like what they have. All the camp hype, the unbelievable hype around Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt. We'll see. Pump the brakes on that. Pump the brakes. Chris Rodriguez will probably be day 1 starter, but Crosky-Merritt is an intriguing piece.
What about my guy Austin Eckler? You're forgetting about Austin Eckler. That's the starter.
I'm not. I think that he is, but he's at his age. I think Chris Rodriguez will handle goal line work. I think Eckler will still be serviceable. But they didn't need Brian Robinson when you have a maybe a little bit younger but cheaper option in Rodriguez to handle the short yardage goal line work. Eckler can still come off the field, get rest, and maybe you get Krosky Merritt on the field as much as you can. But I'm high on them. I'm high on them defensively. I'm high on their coaching staff. I think that they are primed to, maybe we see Philly, the timelines for both of those teams. We think those are the two best teams. We know that those are the two best teams in that division, that Philly get their success now, but we'll see how they sustain it over the long term. Washington is set up perfect to kind of take that division, whether it's now or very soon.
Yeah, the over-under for Washington is sitting there at 9.5. And look, Root, I know that Washington beat the brakes off your Detroit Lions when all your coordinators came back and you're supposed to all go win the Super Bowl. I know that you're probably feeling a little bit bitter about that. And you think, hey, if a team could dismantle us like that, they have to be some type of predestined Super Bowl contender for the future. But I'm here to let you know the Washington Commanders are not going to make the playoffs this year. You're not surprising anyone this year. Cliff Kingsbury's offense, it's a simple offense. You know, Jaden makes his one read, his two read, or he runs. I think that now that people have seen it and that they've watched the tape, it's not going to catch them off guard this year. You also got to think they are by far, the oldest team in the NFL. And that's saying something with your 20-year-old quarterback. And I get it. You know, you want to take advantage of his contract, so you load up all the other contracts. I get it. But I just don't think your average age on your defense being, 32 or something probably? I don't know. They're old as hell over there. I just think last year was a flash in the pan. It was a surprise. And I'm not saying, Jaden Daniels is never going to make it back. I'm just saying that this year, right now, where your number one running back is Austin Eckler, or this random rookie that everyone knows just because they're trying to get a fantasy football lottery ticket. Hey, newsflash, these things normally don't pan out. So if you're drafting him too high, good luck. I'm not doing it. I'm not willing to draft him where he's going at nowadays. Maybe a month ago, I might have taken him in a really late round. But look, the Commanders, I like Jaden Daniels. I really do. I like Terry McLaurin. I really do. But I just think last year it was the perfect storm. Everything worked out exactly how it's supposed to. And this year, I just think they're going to step back a little bit. I don't think they're going to be horrifically bad or anything. They might be that first team right there outside of the playoff, but I would expect a bit of maybe a sophomore slump, which is very common for a quarterback. Remember, we were all saying that C.J. Stroud was the best rookie quarterback of all time. People were saying that. I wasn't saying that, but people were saying that. And then last year, we were kind of like, C.J. Stroud, whatever. I don't know if it's going to be quite that way for Jaden Daniels this year, but I am lower than the consensus on Washington this year.
All right, let me reel myself back in a little bit. I do believe that Jaden Daniels, I agree with you on the Cliff Kingsbury offense, but I believe that Jaden Daniels I think he prepares in a way that I do not foresee a Stroud-like slump. But the test will absolutely be that Cliff Kingsbury offense this year. If it does appear, you've got to do something about it. If it comes out and it appears that everybody has figured it out because it is as simple as we think it is, or can he evolve in any way? But average age is 27. That is highest in the league. League average is 25, but their average age is 27. I get it. And I do skill position guys beyond Terry McLaurin at the receiver spot. You draft a rookie like Jalen Lane, but
talk about they bring in old man Deebo Samuel, who I like Deebo Samuel, but I just think, I don't know. Like I said, I don't think they're gonna be bad, but also look, I've got a very, very close relationship. It's a one-sided relationship with Dan Quinn. Okay, if you can't tell by my background here with my Atlanta Falcons. When Dan Quinn gets to the top, whenever he hits a peak, he doesn't go higher. It just goes lower and lower and lower. And he still has his weird defensive issues where, he just plays back so far that if you throw a 5-yard slant or a 7-yard slant, you're going to get the first down because they're playing like 12 yards back because it's 3rd and 12. And it's like he doesn't know that, hey, they can just throw it 7 yards and they'll run 5 yards and you're not going to be able to stop them. And then they're going to get a first down every time. That used to happen all the time in Atlanta. I don't know. I just think defensively, they're not going to be any better, right? There's no way. It's not like they're young players that are getting older. They're old players that are getting older,
Yeah, I am going to remain fairly high on them.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess all things considered, the division they're playing in, they're going to be the second best team in that division. We know that. There's no question about that, I don't think. Now, you're not going to place Dallas or the Giants above them.
We got one more team we haven't talked about.
Okay. All right. I'll let you get there then. But Jay Daniels is the man. He will continue to be the man. He will succeed despite Cliff Kingsbury if he has to. I think that's the level I believe in his preparation. He's going to be there for a long time. So will their success.
All right. Well, hey, let's talk about that last team there in the division, the New York Giants. Russell Wilson's out there now. Jameis Winston. They draft Jackson Dart. They draft Abdul Carter. Malik Neighbors is out there. They got Cam Scatterboo. There's a lot of new blood out there for New York, and I don't think their defense is that bad. The past few years, they've invested into that defensive line and that offensive line. As kind of kooky and corny as that GM came off on that Hard Knocks offseason edition, which they never did again because of how bad it made the Giants look. No other team would ever sign up to do that ever again. But their defensive line is not bad, and their offensive line is not bad. Their skill positions were just horrible. And Brian Daboll, he's coaching for his life this year. And Russell Wilson didn't look bad in Pittsburgh. And even if Russell Wilson, the wheels do fall off, I don't think Jackson Dart's going to be that bad. I think the Giants this year are going to surprisingly be okay. I think they're going to be flirting with 500. I could see the realm where maybe they're flirting with a winning record and they're just this hard-playing, scrappy team, a lot like the New York team that Daboll took. Didn't he win Coach of the Year that year when Daniel Jones and them went to the playoffs and they beat Kirk Cousins and the Minnesota Vikings there in that first round? So, I think people rope the New York Giants just because they've easily become a butt of the joke, right? It's the Giants. They're horrible. They're going to have the first pick every year. I think this year, I don't have them making the playoffs or anything, but they're going to be, I think I could see them being kind of sneaky and surprising people in a week-by-week basis. Like, hey, we got New York on our schedule. Oh, this will be an easy one. And then all of a sudden, by the time you get to the end of the game, you're down by 4 and you're like, whoa, I thought we were going to win this by 14. So that's kind of just my feelings on the New York Giants. I kind of just think they're going to be pretty average, which is higher than a lot of people.
I agree with you. You're right. There is real talent all over this team. The defense putting in the investments into and the draft capital into Abdul Carter and Kayvon Thibodeau, bringing in a Brian Burns. You've got an ascending great young middle linebacker in Micah McFadden, Bobby Okereke. There's a lot of players on this team to be excited about. The running back Tyrone Tracy was really good last year. I expect him to kind of be the guy. Maybe we'll see what Scatterboo can be. I know you and I maybe pump the brakes on what we expect out of him, just as a player, as a pro. But Singletary, Tracy, Scatterboo, that can be okay. That can be pretty okay. My question will be with quarterback, and at what point? I love what I saw from Jackson Dart. He does play in a way that mistakes will be made, but how long do you wait? This is a young team with Malik Neighbors and these skill guys, these running backs. How long do you wait? You draft him early enough to where I think you want to see him. And I don't understand. I just don't know what the timeline will be with seeing Russell Wilson, what he can do. until you get to the point where you want to see the young guy. I think he was awfully exciting in the preseason. I know it's the preseason, but with the draft capital spent at the quarterback position, let him grow with these young players. It might have some ugly moments, but that's okay. It's all part of the growth. But then you can combat that with, okay, well, we do have a great defense. Maybe we can compete for something. But I don't think the playoffs are within reach. Therefore, I want to see the young quarterback because I love Jackson Dart coming out of Ole Miss, even coming out of an offense that people didn't know how pro style of an offense Ole Miss might be. But still, I like the prospect that he is. I'd love to see him with this young talent.
See, I just don't think you force it. I don't think you rush it. You let Russell, because this team the roster really isn't that bad, if we're being honest.
No.
And, it's not, and the thing is on the offense, it's not like there's a lot of veterans that he can lean on, wide receivers. They're all just so young. Everyone's so young. That's why you need the veteran quarterback to benefit the growth of Malik Neighbors and Scatterboo, right? With Jackson Dart, we're all just growing together and it's going to get ugly. And I don't think that's going to help Jackson Dart's progression any. If they started him week 1, 5 weeks in, they're saying, man, Jackson Dart sucks. That's not good for anybody, right?
Well,
I think
true.
You just let Russell Wilson go. If Russell Wilson and if it's all just like, all right, we're really just not competitive, because I do believe that they believe they can be competitive and Dayball knows they have to be. But if the wheels do fall off, we would see Jackson Dart. But I don't think you force Jackson Dart in there if Russell Wilson is playing fine enough. I mean, he looked pretty good with the Steelers. The Steelers are a way different organization and culture than the Giants, so maybe that's not the best comparison. But I don't know. I don't think it would be of any benefit to throw Jackson Dart out there too early. I mean, even Cam Ward, we know that he's going to be starting week 1, game 1 for the Titans. I bet if the Titans could, they'd probably maybe even like to have someone else to just at least for a little bit to let Cam Ward grow behind him, because I mean that's what works, right?
Yeah, maybe, but Cam Ward I think is ready, and different levels there. But Jackson Dart definitely more of a raw prospect, and you're right, especially if you look at their schedule. It's a brutal start to the season with Washington, Dallas, KC, Chargers. You get the Saints, and then Eagles, Broncos, Niners. I mean, it's a brutal schedule for them. So, yeah, you will see the absolute worst out of a rookie quarterback against a schedule like that. So I get it, but just kind of making it about.
Look, and maybe it is selfish on Dayball because he knows he has to win this year. And maybe if he knew he had a 3-year leash, maybe he would work Jackson Dart in earlier, right?
Yeah.
But he knows that if the Giants are a joke again this year, that he's gone and someone else is going to be coaching the quarterback that he went and drafted.
Yeah, I'm more so just making it about the timeline of the other talent, especially what I think and everybody else that Malik Neighbors might be a generational talent at wide receiver or just a great talent at receiver. We know that. Maybe their questions might be tight end, Theo Johnson. They've got some young guys that tight end too, but and maybe your 2 and 3 receivers is it Wan'Dale Robinson, Jalen Hyatt. There's maybe some questions there, but again, if that's what we're talking about, that's okay. You've got a really good team, especially on defense, that Russell Wilson can take it. Doesn't have to absolutely be a hero. You hope your young running backs can carry the load, but they won't be terrible. They won't get ran over. I think their record won't be great come to the halfway point of the year because of all the teams I just mentioned. They've got a brutal schedule.